You'd think that the most powerful statements of hope would come from a place of comfort, right? But sometimes they actually come from the absolute depths of despair. Today, we're going to dive into one of the strongest declarations of hope in the entire Bible. And believe it or not, it was first spoken from a literal pile of ash and dust.
I know that my Redeemer lives. Wow. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just a casual, I think maybe, kind of statement. And the most incredible thing about it is that these words weren't spoken from a peaceful, easy place. They were a cry from the absolute rock bottom of human pain. So that's the real question, isn't it? How does someone find that kind of unshakable confidence in the middle of a nightmare? To really understand the hope, we have to first understand the misery it was born from. We have to get to know the man who spoke these words. To really get this, we have to set the scene, because the context here is everything. This was not a sermon delivered from a comfortable stage. This was a desperate cry coming from a literal ash heap.
This was Job's life at this moment. The source material paints such a bleak picture. His body is physically failing him, his skin is ruined, he's lost absolutely everything he ever cared about. And then, to make it all so much worse, his friends show up. But not to comfort him. No, they basically show up to blame him for his own suffering. Can you imagine? It's just this incredibly isolating, painful, lonely place to be.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Job's statement that I know my Redeemer lives, it's not just some nice, hopeful thought. It is a full-on act of defiance. It is a protest against all the overwhelming evidence of despair that's surrounding him. And just look at this contrast. It's absolutely stark. On the left, you have Job's reality. Ruined skin, crushing losses, fresh grief. But on the right, you have his confession, and it rises in direct opposition to everything he's experiencing. Against a failing body, he declares, "My Redeemer lives." Against the permanence of his loss, he insists, "He will stand." It's this breathtaking moment where faith just refuses to let suffering have the last word. So how on earth does this ancient cry from an ash heap connect to the central events of Christianity? Well, the devotional we're looking at frames this so beautifully. It describes Job's hope as a kind of ancient thunder that echoes all the way to Easter morning. Think of it like this. Job's hope, spoken centuries before Jesus, was basically a prophecy. It was teaching people to look forward, to anticipate this victorious Redeemer who could conquer even death itself. And that ancient thunder finally finds its fulfillment in the sound of running feet and the startled hearts of the disciples on Easter morning, when they come face to face with the shocking reality of an empty tomb. Okay, and this is the pivot point. This is where everything shifts. That ancient, powerful, but maybe somewhat distant hope, well, it's about to become incredibly personal and specific. It's about to get a name and a face. Now, to really get this, we have to understand what the word Redeemer actually meant. It wasn't just some passive title. It was a role of active rescue. A Redeemer was someone who stepped in to vindicate you, to buy you back from debt or slavery, someone who would literally stand up for you when you were completely unable to stand for yourself. And here it is, the claim at the very heart of this. In the person of Jesus Christ, Job's defiant hope is finally given a name. The Redeemer is no longer a vague wish for the future. He is a specific person, Jesus, who was crucified and, this is the crucial part, is risen from the dead. So what does all this mean for us, right here, right now? What are the real-world implications of this living hope? Well, the devotional makes it crystal clear. This isn't just some abstract idea. It changes absolutely everything. Because this Redeemer is alive, a few things become radically, unshakably true. First, it means the body. Even a body as broken as Job's, it matters. It means the dust of the grave is not the final word. And it means that sorrow, no matter how loud and powerful it feels, does not get to define what's real. The ultimate reality, this confession says, is a living Redeemer. And this is such a critical point to grasp. This living hope is not about pretending that pain isn't real or that suffering is no big deal. It's not about minimizing grief at all. It's about knowing, even when you're right in the middle of that pain, that there is a greater, more permanent reality. The Redeemer is alive. So at the end of the day, we're left with this powerful thought. The reality of pain in our world and in our own lives is undeniable. It's real. But this ancient text from a place of suffering sets that reality against a defiant hope. Pain is real, for sure. The question it leaves us wrestling with is this: is your Redeemer more real?